Okay, so we're going to wrap up chapter 15, Manifest Destiny and Moving West. Once again, we're looking at how we acquired this land. Through diplomacy, through war, through settlement, we moved west. The last section, 15.6, I'm going to give you a few moments. Get to 15.6 in your book and follow along as we plow through this section. Read a little bit, listen to me, watch the PowerPoint presentation, pause it, look at the questions on the bottom below this YouTube video, or look at the questions that I gave you in the handout. Either or, depends on which one you have. So let's begin first of all by looking at the vocabulary for the war with Mexico. Some just basic words, phrases, a couple of names, check them out. Make sure you sort of know what they mean. Some of them are words that you would use in everyday language. The first one is gaze. Gaze is when you look, and you look off in the distance. You're gazing out over the water. It's used in this section because it says that Polk gazed across the country. He looked at the map and gazed upon lands that he wanted to expand into. So gaze, that's a good word to use. Annex, that's another word. Annex is when you bring into your country new land, new territory. It's like taking it. You add it to your country. We annexed Texas. We annexed California, Oregon. That means we took it and brought it into our country. Say annex. The Rio Grande River, you'll hear about that. How the battle with Mexico started along the Rio Grande. The Rio Grande is a river that runs between present-day Texas and Mexico. You'll hear about a greedy people. The president of Mexico felt that the Americans were being very greedy. That's stingy. They just wanted more and more. The word greedy. A lot of you guys may know what these words are too, so that's good. Polk, in one of the sections here, writes in his diary. We don't use that word very much anymore, but back in this time period, a lot of public officials, a lot of famous people, a lot of everyday people kept journals and diaries. You're going to hear about how John C. Fremont led a rebellion in California. A rebellion is when you rebel, you overthrow the government, which in this case was the Mexican government. John C. Fremont's going to rebel. He's then going to raise a very crude flag. Say crude, C-R-U-D-E, crude. It's going to be this one handmade. They're going to fly that over California. It's going to be called the Bear Flag Republic. You're going to see the word no nonsense. That was how they described Zachary Taylor. He was a no-nonsense general. That means he didn't mess around. There was no funny goofing around, being funny. He did not, he was a no-nonsense person. And then the word cadet. We're going to see how some young Mexican cadets, those are young soldiers in training, cadets, tried to save a fortress right outside Mexico City. And they were very determined to resist American forces. Determined resistance is one of the terms you're going to come across in this reading. The cadets fought off the Americans bravely. One of the Mexican officials will mutters like kind of mumbling, muttered darkly that God is a Yankee, that God must be on our side because the Americans just destroyed us. Another big vocabulary, 3 more, is one of them is secession, or session, excuse me. Session is something that is given up. Mexico will cede a whole bunch of land. That land will be called the Mexican cession. That means they gave it up. They ceded it. They gave it up to us. It's going to be called the cession, the Mexican cession, which is going to make up California, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas. Many people are going to oppose this treaty. Say oppose. That means go against it. They don't like it. They're going to oppose it. And then obviously the big number one multi-million-dollar word of this chapter is manifest destiny. Manifest destiny. So let's get going really quickly. Follow along with the PowerPoint slides. Listen to what I'm saying. Check them out. Pause it when you need to. Starting right off the bat, like I said, we're now moving on to Mexico and all the territory in the Southwest. Polk felt that he was ready to take that for America. America needed it, and so he even campaigns in the election that he will span the boundaries of our nation. Okay, so let's get back to this. Here we go. Once again, we already know that Texas, the people of Texas, broke away from Mexico and formed their own country. Well, the next step is that the United States Congress annexes Texas and makes it a state. Mexico doesn't like this. And not only that, we proclaim that the border is a little bit lower than what Mexico thought it should be. And we had troops in there. Well, to make a long story short, some of our soldiers get in a fight with some of the Mexican soldiers along the Rio Grande River. Some of our soldiers die. And Polk declares that Mexico is firing upon Americans on American soil. And it says here, to Mexico, the truth was just the opposite. Mexican President Mariano Paredes declared that a greedy people have thrown themselves on our territory. The time has come to fight. And that's what starts the Mexican-American War. Now, if you look at the next section, the fall of New Mexico and California, it says here that a few months later, General Stephen Kearny led the Army of the West out of Kansas. His orders were to occupy New Mexico and continue west to California. Polk wrote in his diary, General Kearny has thus far performed his duties well. As he marched into these territories, the Mexican soldiers dissipated. They left. They moved out of his way. Meanwhile, a group of rebels in California overthrew the Mexican governor and established the Bear Flag Republic under John C. Fremont. And they flew the crude flag with a grizzly bear and a star on it, the flag that we still have today. When Kearny reached California, he joined forces with the rebels under John C. Fremont. Within weeks, all of California was under American control. Now, if you look at the next section, the United States invades Mexico. Once again, pause it anywhere along the way at the slides, at the PowerPoint presentation while I'm talking fast. Pause it if you need to answer some questions or go back over what I just said. Now it says here,
cuando así me dijiste a mí, por eso vivo penando. ¡Sí, señor!
Suénale, paisano, venga.
Como dijo Vargas, no te rajes talento. Ahora Beto, como te ahora pariente. Negrita de mis pesares, hojas de papel volando, negrita de mis pesares, hojas de papel volando, a todos diles que sí, pero no les digas cuando así me dijiste a mí, por eso vivo penando. Jalisco, sí señor. No te rajes este calitlao bonito. No me traes a mi negra que la quiero ver aquí con su rebozo de seda que le saque de vestir. No me traes a mi negra que la quiero ver aquí con su rebozo de seda que